As a fan, were you excited about the Ruckus getting back together?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it really. It's one of those things that you always hoped it would happen. Getting all those lads back in one room together, it's almost impossible. I'm quite interested in hearing what this sounds like now, and should be different, I guess, after these years of being away and that sort of thing. So, and also shut the fuck up! Sorry, particularly with their time off the instruments and the vocals and that kind of thing. And also seeing whether they'll be able to jump back into the classics that they sort of were known for back in the day. Ah, yeah, that's the one.
Pretty much any time you bump into anyone from school, it's instantly just like, how are you? What are you doing? Do you remember the Ruckus?
There's thousands of New Zealand bands that have been around and done that, and we're just one of them now. You always think that when you grow up, that you'll go back and change sort of things. And Ruckus-wise, nah, it was all kick-ass. Enjoyed every minute of it.
The Ruckus was what the Ruckus was, and we can't change that now. Things have happened, and you can never change it now. I like to think some people still remember us.
Fuck the Ruckus for fucking a quest for the best up for everyone else. It's,
fuck you guys.
Fuck you guys.
It's probably what held us back ultimately was not having a plan, but we came and went so fast that there wasn't enough time for us to really solidify ourselves in New Zealand music history.
If I were to go back and try and talk some sense into a younger me, it wouldn't have changed anything. I don't think. There was no other direction but down.
So tell me about life before the Ruckus.
Yeah, we moved around a lot when I was a kid. By the time I got to high school, I'd been to 4 schools in 4 years. I think ultimately I really did want some sort of sense of stability, normality. We grew up in this country town, Southbridge. Out there, met this dude, Zach Luxton. It was me and him. That was first, when we were little kids, little kids. It was me and Zach.
Yeah, we were sort of just like best mates the whole way through primary school, sort of until college. We went to different colleges, yeah. Yeah, like we'd have some pretty loose parties and stuff, even from a young age, growing up rural. There was no one to really tell you to be quiet.
So when my family, we moved to Christchurch and I'd left so many friends behind, I really just wanted someone to, be my best mate again. And I think that is ultimately how my relationship with Harry got quite intense, because we were both looking for the same thing.
Harry would be the closest person I've met to meeting another Tyler, in the way their attitudes were and their humour really, because Tyler to me was always hilarious, always real silly ideas, and then the first time meeting Harry and seeing those two together, like you know that was just going to be silly. Yeah, those two together are like Beavis and Butthead.
But yeah, it was just, I don't know, there was a bond there straight away. Different cliques in high school that we didn't really fit into. I think they sort of knew each other a lot more before high school, and I think that Tyler was a bit more, well, he's more open to, I don't know, doing sort of shit that I found fun. The sense of humour was the connection between us. I think we had this very similar sense of humour, and it was like Simpsons references, obscure quotes that no one else would fucking get, but if I said something, Tyler would know exactly what I was talking about.
We really liked rugby and stuff. We played rugby together. My old man would always take us to the games, Lancaster Park. So I did that, took my little brother, and yeah, really quickly we just bonded and yeah, went from there.
Well, Jackass at the time was the big thing. Everyone watched Jackass. So and everyone wanted to be Johnny Knoxville.
Little did we know that it took a lot more than just owning a camera to actually be able to do all this shit. It's actually quite hard to force yourself to do something you know is going to hurt. You try to think about not that self-preservation as much as you can, but it's just human nature. You try not to hurt yourself. But
Oh, that fucking... Shut up, Aspen! No, that's fucking horrible.
I've heard us being referred to as the Jackass generation. Other generations had like the grunge movement and heavy metal and shit, but we kind of had Jackass. Like, there's a lot of shit music coming out at that point, so I'd sooner identify with Jackass than like Thirsty Merc. You know what I mean? We just get bored easily, you know. So we always come up with these ideas to just try and film crazy shit. Maybe outdo each other. I always wanted to outdo Harry, but Harry knew how to crash.
Ah! Damn it! That didn't fucking work like I thought it would.
But you know, you don't have enough money to buy any props or anything like that. We sort of had to make do with the neighbourhood really, and with what we could do on our very limited, almost non-existent budget.
Milk challenge. It's coming out of your mouth, yeah!
Yeah, probably one of the most disgusting things I've witnessed at that age.
Here it comes.
Managed to continue drinking and continue vomiting. I was more behind the camera at the time, filming Tyler, just do idiotic stuff, get hurt, Harry as well.
These guys, they have problems.
Around that sort of time was the same time Jackass 2 was coming out. I think we snuck into that. We just decided at that point that we should do that. Like, I'm assuming thousands and thousands of other young kids were doing, but we were going to be better.
You've been referred to as the cool one. Is that reputation justified?
I think I was lucky having I don't want to say I was a cool kid, but I was definitely in a more popular circle. I think at that age, kids who played sport or succeeded in sport and had girlfriends were considered higher up the food chain. I think I had some kind of swing and power in that sense. I think you'll hear different stories from different people about Harry and Tyler and who they were and what they were up to. I think my earliest memory of Harry and Tyler, I remember mowing my lawns and you could see over the fence from my house into the playground of of the local school, and I just remember seeing Harry and Tyler at the very top of this fort, which had a big slide that went down, and they were up there with a bicycle.
I'm gonna kill myself, dude.
And yeah, I went from mowing my lawns to, oh, what are you two doing? You know, I didn't really know these guys. I knew them. I knew who they were because we went to the same school, but I didn't, you know, we weren't friends. I didn't know them. And they were just doing this crazy shit, trying to ride bikes down slides and fuck themselves up, I guess. I don't know.
I think the curiosity from James, he just wanted to know what we were up to, and then I think he saw us one weekend at the school and decided to come over, and yeah, once he sort of started hanging out with us, it was, he had tasted the forbidden fruit, and he wanted more, you know, he wanted to come back.
He was definitely cooler than us. He lost his virginity first. Like, I'm a virgin throughout this whole film, basically, but he wasn't. He lost his virginity real early. Harry and I had this real tight thing going, and then James kind of joined that a little bit later on, but it meant he could film our stunts and shit. I think he wanted to be a part of that too. He was a master of peer pressure.
Hey, do you know how to jump kick?
What's that?
Jump kick, like 2 feet, just straight through the air. Both feet sideways like that, with your feet together. What? Tyler, would you try it? Just run. I want to see you run from down there, just roar and just scream, or just go, ah! And jump straight into it, like a motherfucker.
Yeah, every good crew needs a hype man. You know, someone to sort of tell you you're doing a good job, that it looks good, someone to sort of push you. Sort of, I knew Tyler's boundaries, but I knew that his boundaries could also get him in a bit of trouble. And I knew that there was a chance that, you know, he could get himself really, really hurt. And I don't know, I didn't want him to, you know, but James didn't really care about that in a polite way. So James would sort of be that motivation to go that extra mile for the footage.
You could just make him do things. If you say, hey, this is a good idea, he'd run with it and expand it. I think that was the coolest thing, was you could say, hey, why don't you jump off this? And he's like, yeah, that's cool, but why don't I jump off this into that? The more we hung out, we started listening to more and more metal and rock, and it was really cool. And you know, the more you get to know this guy, he wasn't crazy, but he was just operating on another level to everyone else, doing things that probably everyone else wished they could do or wished they wanted to do, and he was living it. It was terrifying. It was terrifying in a lot of ways. It's like you're hanging out with what felt like a ticking time bomb.
He had a huge amount of leverage over me in terms of peer pressure. It was a real thing. He would know how to just get me to do shit. I don't know, it was also like, we were kind of helping each other. Like, I was giving him an outlet to do things maybe he was too much of a bitch to do. It was also an opportunity for me to like grow in that respect, in terms of like stunts, and like the stunts got better when James was there.
That's what resulted in the quarry wall face climb. I was furious about that, because I was, you know, this was a sheer rock face that Tyler was climbing up.
Why didn't you say no, Tyler? That is a dumb idea. I said if you didn't want to do it, don't do it. No, that's not good enough. He said he'll be right. Not with Tyler. He said he'll be right. Yeah. Oh, don't take it out of me. I will take it out of me. It's going to be okay. Do you reckon you can do that alright?
So I certainly wouldn't have advised Tyler to do that, but James was all about it. And in the end, you know, we got some pretty good footage from it. So,
please.
James sort of brought out a different beast than Tyler. Tyler really wanted to impress people, but he really wanted to impress James even more so. I think that there was this thing with James. He was just, I don't know, he just sort of felt like on a different pedestal from us in terms of quality of person. and we wanted James to like us and think we were cool. But I think at the same time James probably thought the same of us. So the relationship was always going to go well, I think, yeah.
My only concern with Harry was that he was gonna rage. He you know, he did everything that we pushed him into doing, and he did things that he came up with himself, and he was always brilliant. Like, the guy had a knack of taking a hit or falling over. There was times when we pushed him, you could see it, or he'd just let you know, he was fucked off. I remember him getting the hell of a rucking from Tyler, and he flipped his lid.
Another one of those freezers.
Oh my God! Stop it! Fucking stop! I know you said stop!
He was in a mindset of, fuck you guys, we're not friends anymore, I'm going home, I'm done with this shit.
Just say fucking Mark, come on. Just say Mark. Just say Mark, it won't be fucking worth it.
So he rucked me on the back, and I don't know, I just really wasn't feeling it that day, and that just made me snap, and I snapped at him a little bit, but I mean that just shows the dynamic. We're like a fucking old married couple sort of thing. And he just rucked my back, I got real fucked off at him, and he got fucked off at me for being fucked off at him.
You fuck off now, you're fucking off from the band as well. I don't give a shit. Show us the fucking mark.
Don't even have fucking any idea how much that
You see the mark?
You stood right on my
I know I did! Let me fucking see. Leave it for a couple of days and they'll be better.
Such is the nature of the guy, after less than 5 minutes he's having a laugh again, because he's calmed down and realised actually, we probably got some good footage there.
Yeah, there were just times where I was just not keen to do the footage, and Tyler was all about the footage. And then you got fucking James there as well, who's just sitting back having a good old laugh, which didn't fucking make me any happier, but yeah, got over it pretty quickly.
It's motherfucking payback.
Oh dear. Shit.
Oh, it's blood! It's blood! Oh shit!
No way. Enough! No, enough.
Tyler will do what he likes.
No, fucking stop it.
But he wasn't dumb. He did dumb stuff, but he wasn't dumb. And that was the thing that separated Harry. It's weird. He knew what he was doing the whole time, even though he knew he shouldn't have been doing it.
Yeah, James is fucking cool. Like, he was real into like Ozzy Osbourne and shit. And it's like, oh fuck yeah, you listen to Metallica too? And it was like, it was cool. It was like metal and shit. Like, it's not that, you're never gonna feel like an outcast listening to metal, but it's cool when you find other metalheads, and just fast rock and roll and someone to do it with, someone to just fucking rock out with. It was cool. And there's always that curiosity there very early on about music. Harry and I, we would, have fucking nights we would stay up, get stoned, listen to Led Zeppelin, and like, we're kids doing this, and we just thought it was the fucking coolest thing. Just explore shit through the lens of rock and roll.
It just felt like a natural progression. We were loving rock and metal and psych. We never even spoke about it. We would just do it. We'd just sit in a room, we'd have a few tins, and we'd just start jamming out. We were rocking along, and I was like, man, we're rocking it this hard. We can do this. We always felt like we were pushing the level. Let's move it into music. We were ready for it, and it happened really organically.
Really quickly found out that we weren't talented musically, and that it takes more than just wanting to start a band. You actually have to know how to play the instruments, which none of us did. I think I took drum lessons, so I had a pretty good drum roll on me. But outside of that, there was very little musical talent there. But we weren't going to let that stop us. There's plenty of bands out there suck ass, so we thought we could do it too.
Yeah, not at all. It came as a complete surprise to me, because none of them were musical. At the time, I'd been playing the drums, so it was like a little bit of a, not a shock, but it was kind of like, oh, no invite, cheers. But I wasn't concerned. I wasn't really into forming a band myself. So that that was cool. But it was definitely surprising seeing or just like hearing these guys like attempting to play music. Yeah.
Everyone was talking about it. Everyone. Teachers, the janitor, everyone was talking about, you know, like people still talk about it even at the reunions.
So you told us you were friends with the Ruckus?
Well, I wasn't so much inside the friends group as much as sometimes I'd spend my lunch sort of walking around outside the friends group trying to get into a cab. But, you know, you did what you had to do in high school in order to survive.
I couldn't tell you whose idea it was to form a band. Like, it genuinely could have been mine, but it also could have been Harry's or James's. Like, I straight up can't remember. But we know it happened. So that gives it a kind of like a mystery. It's like, who formed the Ruckus? And they just kind of happened. The Ruckus just happened.
It may have even just started as like, what would be a good band name. And I think when we first formed, you know, the Ruckus didn't exist yet. I believe the first band name we started out with was Moo Talks, which was Harry. And we were just like, what the fuck is Moo Talks? It wasn't until he said it's just scrotum backwards. You know, it summed up who we were at the time. The best band name for us is just scrotum spelt backwards. But
I don't know where the name The Ruckus came from. That was probably the thing we spent the most time on initially, was the band name. That and finding drumsticks to use, because there wasn't any drumsticks around. We were going to, tour the world, that sort of thing. Probably 10 minutes after that, that goal came about of touring the world, that was scrapped. We realised we couldn't play the instruments, so, you know, no one was really going to pay to see that.
I don't think initially any of my band name suggestions were taken on board. But that's what we were. We were a ruckus. We were like a mobile ruckus. Everywhere we went, we just fucking, not quite fuck shit up, but we were just little ragamuffins, you know, like just little rat bags, absolute rat bags. Trashy, a little bit trashy, but that was us, the Ruckus, man.
They were the Ruckus, you know. You just accepted it and you loved it anyway, you know.
We were all bringing that energy at the time. We had that youthful energy and that will for carnage and destruction, that it was like, yeah, let's start a band and we can do this. We'll just fucking crush it. We all liked the same music. We were all, like I say, operating on that level. And you know, Harry could drum, Tyler could guitar. I played the keys. I was playing the fucking keys and tried to throw my pipes in there where we could, but we had something. We knew we had something. I think at the time all we were missing was a bass.
Came from a family happy clappers, you know, very conservative views from mum and dad and grandparents and so on and so forth, so certainly towed the line up to a certain point. But music was always a big part of that family. Dad was playing in church bands and things like that, and I think that's kind of where I got it from. Well, I knew these guys from around school, and they sort of had a bit of a reputation for being loose units.
You alright?
Fuck. You didn't even warn me, it was just like, yeah,
You see, the camera started filming, so I did it.
I think the conservative kind of upbringing I had maybe allured me a little more. I was friends with James first.
Go Brigade!
And so he was kind of my ticket in.
Marvellous. Come on!
So I think at the time I was the only one in kind of that group that actually owned an instrument. So I think that was probably a draw for them.
We had three pretty exciting members of the band, you know. James was obviously, you know, he's the handsome one, and I'm like the drummer, you know, and then Tyler's got all the energy, so we just needed that bit of blandness, I guess. We needed that bass player.
But yeah, I was sceptical of Brendan. I wasn't sure he had to, in my eyes, sort of prove himself to me. I mean, that's like just quite an arrogant kind of attitude, but like that's what I thought. Like I was like, who are you? Come on, man. Like I barely thought James was hardcore enough to be in the Ruckus, let alone Brendan.
You didn't want to just let someone or anyone into that special thing we had going, you know. So it was like, well, what are we going to do to make him earn his spot? And I don't know what inspired it, but I thought, fuck it, he should fight Tyler, you know, fight for the right to party. So he did. We just kind of jacked it up. I got in Tyler's ear, I got in Brendan's ear. I said, you got to have to fight Tyler if you want to be in the band.
There wasn't too much kind of face-to-face with Harry and Tyler. It was kind of through James, which I thought at the time was a little strange, but if that's how these guys operated, then...
It wasn't hard to convince Tyler. I said, hey, I reckon if BJ wants in this band, he's going to have to fight you, and Tyler was all about it. You know, he's a madman. Could have said anything to him, and he was down for it.
I think Tyler at the time was doing boxing classes or something like that on the weekend with one of his dad's mates or something like that, and he had these hand wraps that he was walking around in all the time, so I think he was just in a fighty mood at that point. And I think that sort of gave James the idea Tyler and Brendan should fight, and I jumped on that. I was like, yeah, Tyler and Brendan, they're going to fight, sweet. Brendan was not at all keen for this. You could just tell by looking at him he did not want to fight at all.
The first time that I'd heard from Tyler, he came up to me and he said, you and me are going to fight. He laid out the date, he laid out the time. I think it was like 2 weeks from that date.
As you may have guessed, I'm fighting Brendan on the 8th of October 2007. You're going down, you little bitch.
That was all that was said. He just came up to me and threw the gauntlet down. At the time, it wasn't stated that that's what I had to do to get into the Ruckus, but I knew that was the initiation. It wasn't a fight, it was an invitation.
So I thought, this kid, he's got a base, he wants in, like maybe we can do it, and so it really served two needs. For me to put on a show for everyone, and for me to just get something out. Brendan didn't want to do that at all. Like, it's just thick peer pressure.
Watch me fuck up really.
I'm so fast. What was your name, Brendan? The
baby-faced assassin. I packed it, man. I bricked it. For the next 2 weeks, I started running, I started shadow boxing, the whole time bricking it. I'd never been in a fight before, let alone a fight that had so much at stake.
Coming into it, we decided to have it at school at lunchtime on the field, on the north field, make a nice big circle. You know, that was sort of all the planning around it. Was like, we're not going to have very long to do this because it's going to get broken up pretty quickly, so you guys are just going to have to get in there and start fighting, and you know, we'll have to film it, and you're just going to have to bloody get in there and do as much as you can. We'll try to aim for 2 or 3 rounds and see what happens, sort of thing.
I remember walking out onto that field and there were a few people, but not a huge amount, so that was a bit of a relief for me. And then Tyler showed up and we had some words.
Punch me in the face. I'll let you start things off. You can use your right foot. Oh, do it!
Me, James and Harry were all, basically it was us three versus Brendan. Like, none of us helped him. I could just see that Brendan didn't want to do this at all. Once he had those hand wraps on, there was no escape for him.
Yeah, I remember after the first few punches were thrown, checking my surroundings, and what was only a few people turned into a massive circle of people. It was mammoth.
I was the officiator, I was supposed to be the referee of the fight. I wasn't really being the referee, I was sort of watching the fight like everyone else.
One up, come on. Back in the race!
I think Brendan actually held his own in that last round. I think he definitely earned his place in the ruckus, I'm sure.
He really proved to us that, hey, I want to be in this band. And yeah, he fought him. He fought the guy, and shit, he probably didn't win. Let's be honest. No, he didn't win. He didn't win at all. But he won. He won us. He won the right to be in the band, and I think he won over a lot of other people too with what he did that day.
I kind of regret pushing him into it, but it had a good effect on the band, and we got some good footage out of it. It was still in that sort of let's be stuntmen, let's be musicians phase of the transition into the ruckus, and the ruckus was really born that day, really.
You've lost respect for yourself, but you've gained knowledge from others. So you want to...
Was the outcome going to be any different? Like I said, I'd never been in a fight. And I certainly remember putting on a brave face in terms of kind of the physical pain I was in, but more so the embarrassment.
Brendan, you right, man? Yeah, I'm great. You took some pretty sweet hits.
You did. Now let's get close up. Oh, Brendan, you got bleeding nose, mate.
They needed Brendan for sure, because they weren't really all that musically inclined until Brendan turned up, and then all of a sudden it was like, you know, in comes Mr. Instrument with his music and stuff, and yeah, he actually really kicked it into like fifth gear, if you like. Like, those boys were doing their own thing, and I think they would have been completely successful without him. But Brendan was the star. Like, he's the guy in the back. He's the bassist, you know. He's the guy in the back who's just keeping it going, and he is getting it going, you know.
But I remember going home after school that day and kind of reflecting on it, and it kind of clicked that it was never about the fight. It was never about him wanting to beat me. I knew that this was a ploy to garner that kind of that interest, that hype around the ruckus and what they're about. So
Brendan, you are a champion.
I knew I was in, and I knew why it had to happen. Yeah. By this point, I was a fully fledged member of the ruckus. So I remember one practice we had, and Tyler came bursting through the door, and he had found out about this competition and Quest for the Best, and it was not only a literal stage for us to showcase us and our kind of musical prowess, but the grant that came with it was going to open so many doors for us.
Posters all around the place. They sort of advertised for talent. They wanted talent for this show that they were putting on. And obviously, you know, we had just formed a band. We just got our brand new bass player, and we wanted to go in with a statement. So Quest for the Best, you know.
It's probably the first time. I mean, personally, I can't speak on behalf of the others, but I think I definitely felt it, that we were, you know, nervous about something. You know, now we were actually doing something that I guess had meaning and meant something. So, you know, we were ready, and I guess we built up some form of reputation. You know, we weren't complete unknowns coming into this competition, but I don't think the expectations were high either.
From that point on, it was non-stop rehearsals, day and night. You know, didn't take us long before we knew a few songs. We got a few chords going down, and we were able to put something together. And
it was just a chance to really show off and say we weren't, just complete fucking amateurs. I had a degree of focus going into this thing, and I had been practicing.
We knew there were going to be other bands there that had been together for longer and just musically just better than us, and we hadn't been together that long as well.
Admittedly, some of them were really good. There was some girls who did it the year before, and like they blew it out of the park. Like they're still doing pretty well actually. I've got them on my Spotify right now. Like they're killing it.
It was so long ago.
Yeah.
I just feel like I've always known you.
Right.
We didn't even really plan what we were going to play. We just had a jam and it
just worked.
It really worked. And
there was no what are we going to do, who are we going to be. It just kind of happened.
We just had to be ourselves, and we were like soulmates of punk.
I mean, everyone wants to be a star, of course.
Yeah, we won Quest for the Best as the Punks, but we tried to change our name as often as we could because we just came up with so many awesome ones. There was Oral Dags, Slag Reflex, ABC, STD, Dick Guillotine. Yeah, my vagina is a Dick Guillotine, that's what it was. Then we were Dad's Dildo, Cable Tie My Balls. I think that's it. I mean, we kind of knew those guys, Ruckus. Shit band name, but
they were familiar, but I couldn't quite place them, and then
yeah, I didn't even realise they were musicians, and then
that's what threw me. I think seeing all those guys up there with their instruments, it was like, well, that doesn't make sense.
I was expecting it to sound like shit.
I think in the back of my mind, I certainly knew that we weren't gonna win, but fuck, we were gonna give it a good hove.
It didn't really make sense that these four slackers who've basically barely shown any sort of interest in anything are suddenly coming along and saying that they're, the best.
Well, leading up to that, I'd probably known them 15 years, 10, 15 years, and never once seen him with an instrument. Like Harry too, I don't know if Harry played instruments in his earlier years. Didn't really sound like it.
So the day the competition rolls around, I remember not feeling any nerves, which was strange. I mean, fuck, I was more nervous for the fight than that big performance. We go out on stage and boom, I'd never seen a crowd that big.
Yeah, I just remember, going out on stage and all those eyes looking up at us, all the flashes. Crazy.
They were going nuts. I mean, yeah, probably for the acts that had come before, but as soon as we started our shit, as soon as we started that first, fuck, nuts, pandemonium.
When they knew what we were about, they knew something big was going to happen.
I actually remember after the first song, like just screaming at the top of my lungs, "What's happening? What's happening?"
Fucking got me rock hard, and we just went for it.
And then they slam into the next one, and everyone's jostling and jumping.
Can't explain it, but that day we set that fucking stage on fire.
Yeah, that was a great feeling coming off that stage.
And yeah, they fucking won. They did.
They did it, despite everything, I guess.
Never seen them with a guitar before, so.
It's actually the best moment of my life, was that, being in the audience, actually being there then at that point in time.
All of a sudden we were on stage accepting that award and that grant, and yeah, it was surreal, man. Surreal.
Next thing we're fucking lifting the title, and it's just a fucking whirlwind from there, you know. It's a bit of a blur, but we could get our hands on a few things. So that first 72 hours was just pure carnage, you know. We'd won, we were on a high, and that we wanted that high to last as long as it bloody well could.
I think part of us wanted to blow off some steam and actually kind of celebrate where we were at that point. And I mean, sure, you know, it's rock and roll and someone else was paying for it, so we partied for a bit, and it was awesome, and we deserved it.
You know, everyone was talking about the Ruckus, and from there it just sort of skyrocketed. Yeah, and you know, with that prize money, you know, it was you know, sky's the limit after that. Yeah.
The whole design of Quest for the Best is that it's an opportunity to kickstart your career in the music industry, and we did not.
When we got our winnings, we found a manager straight away. We just sorted it. We wanted every cent to go towards our music, and it really paid off for us.
Just anything you can think of that a teenager would buy, we bought.
PlayStation 3.
I bought my brother a bike, you know what I mean? Just helping our friends and shit. We could do a lot more.
That's what was the real motivator behind Quest for the Best. Was yeah, I mean, it was the money.
I just remember freaking out. We'd never seen that much money in our lives before, and I think that probably got the better of us, you know. Selfishness starts to come into play, and everyone's got different ideas of what we should do, and you know, things just kind of happened the way they did.
Just fucking went and did some shit. Like, we basically took a lot of time off school as well, and just went around and did shit. We flew to fucking Queenstown at one point just for a holiday.
Yeah, trips around the country, that sort of thing. And I mean, obviously the money should have gone on the band, on the Ruckus, and our debut album. But you know, geez, you're giving that much money to a bunch of kids. You know, we didn't know what to do with it, so we just started spending it on things that we've always wanted. We got a couple of motorbikes.
And the stunts started to get bigger and bigger and kind of more out there, and some dangerous, frankly, and the wheels really started turning.
Friends and I always had bikes, and Tyler and Harry came out a couple of times.
Oh, sweet.
I think the first time they were out with us, we were just dubbing them around. They'd never really ridden, but I suppose they had that want there, so they bought bikes, and not just like learners kind of bikes, they bought full-on motocross bikes.
Scam a couple bucks. Picture's about to drop another own luck. Next round's on me, we'll have a beer or two. I know that you can use it, mate, cause you're broke too. Come on, mate, it's just a couple $100. You're my mate, right? Pushing coins, I'm pushing coins. Pushing coins, I'm pushing coins.
Watching them try to ride was kind of like how in previous years I'd watch them play instruments. It was just an accident waiting to happen. If you were there at the time, you'd be waiting to call an ambulance, basically. Yeah.
I hated the motorbikes. I didn't like them at all. I'm lucky we're not dead because of those. There was a phase. Definitely, those bikes were a phase.
We were kind of in an unknown area of, I guess, a degree of responsibility. Of we've got to do something with this now and really kick on with it. But we didn't know who was going to lead that.
So where it developed from there was them just like blowing up into this thing that we didn't see coming. They weren't prepared for. Even as a friend of theirs, I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, well, it became very, very serious. Obviously, we had people wanting our signature, and agents hitting us up, and met up with a few people from Fur Patrol New Zealand Band, Kick-Ass New Zealand Band, and yeah, sort of started to mingle with those crowds a little bit. And that's sort of what got us meeting with the right people.
There was a very brief time when the Ruckus was inside the inner circle of the New Zealand Rock Elite. We were rubbing shoulders with names who were, posters on our fucking wall, and now they're standing next to us. That was fucked up. We shouldn't have been there. We really fucking shouldn't have.
I don't know how they won Quest for the Best.
It was such a magical moment that night, and then they left it all there.
Yeah.
The match died when they won.
That was it. The no-hit wonders.
It's when that party didn't really stop that the wheel started to come off, and I really started to question whether anything else was going to happen when a large chunk of that money was then gone.
I was always the encourager, and all of a sudden I was kind of out of ideas. But we had, still these two powerhouse guys, Tyler and Harry, who were young and reckless and still had full ability to do whatever came to their head. I just remember these guys booking a ticket, and just taking off with the big smoke of Auckland and cutting loose. Looking back, I think it's probably good I wasn't there.
It's not like we deliberately even, didn't invite James and Brendan to Auckland. It just didn't really occur to us. And I think that's how a lot of the tension there began. It wasn't like we were malicious, like, hey, you're not coming. It was, we didn't even think about you. Sorry.
And Tyler and myself, we sort of took it on ourselves to go after the fame. But yeah, it was all go for me and Tyler. So I think we hitched a flight up to Auckland to go and meet with a big boss of a record agency who was in town during the Foo Fighters concert. So we were going to hitch up with their agent there and see what we could do. So we went up for that big pitch meeting. Yeah.
I mean, they lived the rock star lifestyle.
They fucking did.
Should they have is another question.
Yeah. Nah, they're fucking losers, man.
They had a chance and they fucking blew it.
Yeah, they had every chance. And
the downfall of the band, yeah, it's at the time it was silly. It seemed like it was over nothing. I suppose, like, stresses and the fame that they did have just affected them, like, partly in a negative way. Then I'd see less of the other band members. Yeah, it was just unhealthy at the time.
The breakup really came out of nowhere.
The rumour is that they got into a massive fight, like actually, it came to blows fight.
I can't fucking remember how it started. I think Harry was drawing on the walls or something in the hotel, and I was like, fuck man, come on, what are you doing? Can we just not trash it this time? I can't be fucked dealing with it, or some shit like that. And I just had to go at him. I just started fucking biting his head off about it. And it's like, well, why do you give a shit now, Tyler? Was his kind of response. And I was like, nah, fuck that.
So we'd been living together for a while, spending fucking pretty much day and night together for a long time. A lot of pressure there, and I think it just all sort of culminated. One night we hit the terps a bit too hard, and yeah, it all sort of came out, and we ended up getting in a fight. yeah, quite physical in the end.
And I just remember we were sitting in the back of this taxi and I just started fucking swinging at the guy. This is like my best friend here and I'm just fucking having a go at him, like a serious fucking wriggle around, man. And it's like, this wasn't like the Brendan fight, this wasn't funny.
Look, obviously not going to pussyfoot around it. I'm considerably larger than Tyler, and that's pretty much how the fight played out.
I kept fucking just hitting him, trying to hit him, just trying to hurt my friend, and then, you know, so he starts fucking socking me in the face, and he's a lot bigger, stronger, more powerful than me, so I just remember wriggling around, fucking screaming. I remember seeing blood on the fucking roof of the taxi. It was fucked up. So eventually the driver freaks out. He stops the car and I leg it. I fucking bolt out of there. And before I know it, Harry's fucking tackled me to the ground. I think he told me to fuck off and shit. And then as he's walking away, I punched him in the foot. So he turned around and kicked me in the head.
Yeah, that didn't look good from my point of view. It was a moment of shame in my history for sure. But yeah, it definitely was a breakdown in our relationship at that point, yeah.
After that, I was just kind of walking around the city with dried blood in my hair until the sun came up, and it was, yeah, I didn't see Harry for a long time after that. And that was the end of the Ruckus.
The band was a bit rocky anyway. Four shits hanging out with each other all the time, constantly. Bad blood's gonna develop. It's, you know, when they got back from Auckland, that was over. It didn't matter what anyone said. It was done.
They just kind of disappeared. It was like they had gotten what they wanted from either the experience or the money, and they were content with that. And for me, it was about the music. And yeah, once it was no longer about that, there was no reason for me to stick around.
Everything was an outlet, and we were just pouring our hearts into whatever we were doing, and none of it was music. You know, we'd formed a band. We were the Ruckus, and people knew we brought the fucking Ruckus, but ultimately, I guess we didn't. You know, we had that opportunity there to make music, and we blew it.
And then they fucked it up for the rest of it. Quest for the Best was not the same after that. There's thousands and thousands of dollars given to teens.
They just lost all credibility after those guys.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing.
Yeah.
Because it gave us such a good start. It was our foundation, is where we came from. And then now you tell people you want Quest for the Best and they're like, oh,
yeah.
neat.
Don't they give...
It's just
yeah.
not what it... It's just not the same anymore.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there's probably all this extra pressure from, you know, the label, and they meant to have an album, and nothing's going as well as they thought it was, and...
Yeah, the Ruckus doing what they did was just... It sort of ruined the legitimacy of the art for me. They came in, had that one magic performance, and then pretty much just shat all over the whole idea of being a rock star.
You look back and think, fuck, there's so many things I regret, but at the same time I don't regret a single thing. If the things that had happened hadn't happened, I wouldn't be who I am, but at the same time I'm so fucking grateful it finished where it did, because we were on a crash course, you know. It was going to implode, and if it didn't when it did, and it happened later, it could have been a lot worse. You know, I think moving out to the country and living a life, not of solitude, but it's a lot quieter and peaceful. It's, you know, it's very, very contrasting to what we were doing and where we were headed. And I wouldn't change a thing. And I'm glad now I can just be quiet and settled, because things were so loud and out of control.
I often find myself wondering where we could have gone, where we could have gotten to have that much talent that we did at that age. Like, the sky really was the limit for us.
You know, there's no hard feelings really. I don't think there's no lasting fallout, so I think we could definitely get the band back together and go through some of our old songs and see if we still got it, yeah.
So the band's told me they've booked some studio time.
Are they actually recording something? Have they recorded something? Can I listen to it? Do you have it? Can I listen to it? Please? Can I get preview? Like, can I get anything?
Fuck, when I heard the Ruckus was getting back together. Fuck.
I mean, good for them. Right?
No, fuck them.
Please, honestly, just let me listen to it. I just wanna go back to when I was 15, please.
They're not even musicians. How the fuck can they get back together when they're not even a real band? No, they don't deserve it. At all.
Please.
I think it'd be cool. Yeah, so I've heard, like, Tyler's been playing. Surely he's better than when they won the competition.
Yeah, that shit just writes itself, really. Like.
So, yeah, it would be. I'd like to see them like give it another shot.
It's the best news I've had all year. Yeah, when I got the news, I really couldn't believe it, eh?
Yeah, so a very basic 4-piece drum setup. They got my snare drum down here, in two toms, my floor tom and my air tom, and the big round one here on the ground. Doesn't have a foot pedal, this one. I just mainly use it to stop my leg lifting up. It sort of happens sometimes. I just don't even notice the leg just starts drifting up. And yeah, it sort of just stops that from happening. I also like to rest some stuff on it every now and then as well.
Well, these days I prefer to play on a shorter neck bass. This gives a little bit of a kind of deeper sound, and John Paul Jones also preferred to play a short neck. So.
What are the cymbals? The cymbals? Yeah, we never really had any use for cymbals. It's a sort of cymbalist drum kit.
It's happened, you can't control it. Things are going to change, things will always change, and they'll just keep going. Because once things have changed, you just got to accept it and just keep going. You know, your life doesn't stop. In my opinion, you get one go around the merry-go-round and that's it, so just try to make the most of it. You know, we'll make new fucking stunts and albums and shit, or whatever that form takes now. Yeah, things are different now, and that's fine.